Hey readers, today I want to talk to you about the book that you've listened to, Duck for President. So if you haven't listened to the IRA, head on over there and do that first so that you know what we're talking about. This book is called Duck for President. And obviously, we cannot have a duck for a president of the United States or president of anything because animals can't hold office. But this fictional story, this fantasy, if you will, has lots of make believe things, but it also has lots of real things and lots of really good life lessons. And the author is a very well known author, Dorian Cronin and Betsy Lewin, and they're very talented people. They've written several other books. A lot of New York Times bestsellers. They wrote Click Clack Moo and a couple others that you might would recognize. But I do want to point out a couple little things in here that different life lessons and different things that that we can learn from this book. One is voting counts. You need to vote. These numbers right here, Duck only had one more vote than Mrs. Governor. So voting is important. I know you guys can't vote now, but when you get 18, when you turn 18, you can vote, and it's very important to vote. And so one of the rights, those special rights and privileges that we have as Americans, to make sure you vote one day. Another thing is I want to point out the word campaign. That word isn't exactly in here, but you see the campaigning that Duck did. He made signs. I know right now during election season that the past several weeks and months that you've seen lots of signs and posters and get all that junk mail in your mailbox and all the commercials on TV. Everything is about vote for me, vote for me. Here they're giving speeches and parades and going on TV shows and doing things. So Duck was campaigning. That's the word I want you to know. And then the last thing is a life lesson that we can learn. Duck thought he wanted to be the leader of the farm. So he ran an election and won it and then became leader of the farm. That wasn't good enough for him. So he ran for governor and won. And he really didn't like that either. It wasn't good enough. So he ran for president and actually won it. And that wasn't what he wanted either. And he realized at the end that he wanted to go back to the farm. He didn't realize how good he had it. So that's just kind of a life lesson for you. So you may not always, it may not always be as bad as it seems. Now, the activity that you're going to see in Seesaw in just a minute looks like this. You'll have one page like this, and it has first, and it goes all the way to last. There are 8 boxes, and then there are all these little boxes with sentences on them are over on the sides. And so what you have to do, and you have to read the sentence and then decide where it goes in the story. So like right here, the first one we'll do a couple of these together. Duck decides to run for president. Now remember, first he ran for the leader of the farm, and then he ran for governor, and then lastly he ran for president. So that's going to be somewhere near the end, probably on the bottom row somewhere. I'm just going to put it right there for right now. We can move it. You can tap those things and drag them anywhere you want to in Seesaw, okay? But I know it's going to be somewhere there. I know it's probably not going to be in these first couple of squares, okay? Let's see. Here is another one. Duck holds a farm election and wins. Duck holds a farm election and wins. That was the very first election that he had. So I'm going to say that's probably near the beginning. So I'm going to put that right there. I can move it later if I want to, but I'm going to say it right there. Okay? The next one. He becomes president but does not like it. He becomes president but does not like it. And think president. First he was the farm leader, and then he was the governor, and then lastly he was president. We already have he decides to run for president. So he becomes president, doesn't like it. It's going to have to go after that one. Now we may have to shift these over a little bit depending on what other sentences we come up with. But we know that he becomes president but does not like it has to happen after he decides to run for it. Okay? And And right here, this next one, this last one we'll do together. The animals are tired of doing chores and being dirty. The animals are tired of doing chores and being dirty. Remember at the beginning, they were very frustrated. So we have up here, Duck holds a farm election and wins. So were they sick and tired of doing the chores before that or after that? Yeah, it was before that. So that's why he held a farm election and wins. So I could slide that one over. We may have to move it again. I don't know. But this one says the animals are tired of doing chores and being dirty. Duck holds a farm election and wins. So far, that's in the right sequence. And there are 4 more that you have to decide. I'm not saying these are in the right place. I'm just saying right now they're in the right sequence. You might have to move some of them. But I'm going to read these out loud to you so you know what they say. I'm not reading them in any certain order. This one says, Duck doesn't like being in charge of the farm and decides to run for governor. This one says, Duck leaves the vice president in charge and returns to the farm. This one says, Duck becomes governor, but he does not like it. And then this one says, Duck decides to write an autobiography. Remember, the very last page of the book is where he decided to write the autobiography. Let me zoom out so you can see that is the end. Remember, he was leaving everybody in charge of the farm, and then that was the end of the story. So, hint there. So, you go in there and you can move these around however you want to, but make sure they're in the order of the story. And make sure that you have a sentence in each block. I'm not saying these are correct right here. I'm saying right now with what I've done that they're correct. But these reading the other ones may have to adjust it. So I can't wait to see your work.